The 291st Infantry Regiment represents a classic example of the American citizen soldier tradition. Activated for global war, tested under fire, and preserved through post-war reorganization. Though best known for its determined service during World War II, the regiment's lineage spans World War I, the decisive campaigns of World War II, and the Cold War-era army that followed. Through each era, the 291st Infantry Regiment adapted to changing missions while maintaining a core identity built on discipline, endurance, and duty. World War I, Origins and First Activation Formation and Stateside Service. The 291st Infantry Regiment was first constituted in 1917 as part of the massive expansion of the United States Army following America's entry into World War I. It was assigned to the 73rd Infantry Division, a national army formation composed largely of draftees from the Mid-Atlantic and Southern states. The regiment trained primarily in the United States, preparing for deployment to Europe as part of the American Expeditionary Forces. However, like many late-formed units, the 291st was affected by shifting manpower needs and logistical realities late in the war. Role and demobilization elements of the regiment were used primarily for training, replacement, and support functions, supplying manpower to combat units already engaged in France. The regiment itself did not deploy overseas as a complete combat formation before the armistice of the 11th of November, 1918. Following the end of the war, the 291st Infantry Regiment was demobilized in 1919, its personnel returning to civilian life as the U.S. Army rapidly downsized. Though its World War I service was limited, the regiment's establishment laid the groundwork for its later reactivation. World War II. Return to arms reactivation and formation. With the outbreak of global war once again, the 291st Infantry Regiment was reactivated on the 15th of January 1943 at Camp Breckinridge, Kentucky, as part of the 75th Infantry Division. The regiment was composed largely of draftees, men drawn from across the United States who had little military experience but were rapidly molded into infantry soldiers. Training emphasized small unit infantry tactics, defensive warfare, night operations. Rapid movement under fire leadership understood that the regiment might be committed quickly and under difficult circumstances. Deployment to Europe. The 291st Infantry Regiment deployed overseas in November 1944, arriving in England before moving to France. The timing could not have been more critical. In December 1944, German forces launched the Battle of the Bulge, their last major offensive in the West. As veteran units were already engaged or depleted, newly arrived divisions, including the 75th Infantry Division, were rushed to the front. The 291st entered combat almost immediately. Baptism of Fire, the Battle of the Bulge. The regiment fought in the Ardennes region of Belgium and Luxembourg, enduring some of the harshest conditions of the European war. Freezing temperatures, deep snow, and ice-limited winter equipment, constant artillery and mortar fire. The 291st Infantry Regiment was primarily tasked with defensive operations, holding key terrain, manning roadblocks, and repelling German infantry attacks. Despite limited combat experience, the regiment held firm. Small unit leadership proved decisive. Squad leaders and platoon commanders often made independent decisions under fire, preventing German breakthroughs and stabilizing threatened sectors. The regiment's ability to absorb punishment and maintain cohesion played a role in blunting the German offensive and buying time for Allied counterattacks. Transition to the offensive. Following the failure of the German attack in January 1945, the 291st Infantry Regiment transitioned to offensive operations. The regiment advanced through snow-covered terrain, retaking lost ground and pressing a retreating enemy. Combat shifted to clearing fortified villages, crossing minefields, defeating German rearguard actions. Though resistance gradually weakened, fighting remained dangerous and costly. Advance into Germany and final operations. In February and March 1945, the regiment crossed into Germany, participating in the final Allied drive into the heart of the Third Reich, Operations included village-to-village combat capturing prisoners and supplies, security, and mopping up missions. By April 1945, organized German resistance was collapsing. On May 8, 1945, Victory in Europe Day, the men of the 291st stood as seasoned combat veterans, soldiers who had gone from training camps to frontline combat in a matter of weeks. Post-World War II service and legacy demobilization and reserve status. Following the war, the 291st Infantry Regiment was inactivated in 1946 as the U.S. Army rapidly reduced its wartime strength. However, unlike many temporary wartime units, the regiment was preserved in the Organized Reserve Corps. During the early Cold War, the regiment existed primarily as a reserve training and readiness formation, maintaining cadre strength and providing trained manpower in the event of future conflict. Cold War era and final inactivation, as the Army reorganized during the 1950s and 1960s, shifting toward new divisional structures and combat doctrines, the need for traditional infantry regiments in the reserve system declined. The 291st Infantry Regiment was eventually inactivated, its lineage and honors preserved within the U.S. Army's historical roles. Though not among the most famous regiments, the 291st proved its worth when it mattered most, holding the line in the Ardennes and advancing into Germany as the Third Reich collapsed. Its story stands as a testament to the resilience of ordinary Americans called upon to meet extraordinary challenges across 3 eras of service.